guys, what's up? Max Plays MTG here, and I'm here with actually a deck tech on my current standard deck. It is black-white Orzhov Midrange Control-y, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a deck tech, and then I have a special announcement to make after the video. So be sure to stay tuned. So the mana base of this deck is pretty simple. It's actually just 4 Temple of Silence. We got 4 Orzhov Guildgates, 4 Godless Shrines, 5 Swamps, or other way around, 5 plains and 8 swamps, for a total of 25 lands. Alright, so the first creature we have in this deck is Soldier of the Pantheon. Soldier of the Pantheon is a 1-mana 2/1 with protection from multicolored, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, you gain 1 life. One of the reasons I really like this card is because it has a lot of interactions with other aggro decks that you're trying to beat. For example, it's very powerful against Rakdos Cackler when they play it turn 1 Unleashed. You can play this turn 1, prevent future multicolored cards like Burning Tree Emissary or Boros Reckoner from dealing damage to this, and you're also gaining that life, which is crucial against these aggressive decks. This card is actually pretty good against Mono Blue Devotion as well, because I have so many multicolored creatures, from Frostburn Weird to Nightveil Spectre to Judge's Familiar. So this is crucial in gaining the life and preventing the damage that those creatures would deal. Moving up the curve now, we have Banisher Priest. Banisher Priest is a 3-drop that is basically Oblivion Ring for a creature on a stick, or Journey to Nowhere on a stick. One of the reasons I really like this is because it's only 3 mana and can get rid of powerful threats, but not only does it do that, it exiles it. For example, if Thoughtseize, Erebos, or Purphoros are devoted, this is a really good way of getting rid of that until they kill this creature, which I'd rather them use a removal spell on one of these creatures than one of my threats late game. So that's one of the reasons why I like Banisher Priest. Alright, the next card I've pulled out here is Sin Collector. Sin Collector is a 3-mana 2/1 that when it enters the battlefield, you exile a card, an instant or sorcery card, from target opponent's hand. It's really powerful against control opponents who have Sphinx's Revelation, Supreme Verdicts, Azorius Charms stuck in their hand, and this is a good way to take it. It's also pretty good against mono-red opponents, taking their Lightning Strikes or Shocks or whatever else they might be saving, or against mono-black, mono-blue with their Cyclonic Rift, Hero's Downfall. So I think the Sin Collector is really powerful, and I do have 2 main deck, but I also have 2 in the sideboard against those control opponents. Alright, the next card going up the curve is Desecration Demon. Desecration Demon, his raw stats are pretty powerful. He's a 4-mana 6/6 flying, and the downside is that at the beginning of each combat, any opponent may sacrifice a creature, and if a player does, they tap Desecration Demon and put a counter on it. Now, a lot of people think that this downside is too powerful, but now that the token strategies have left the format, Desecration Demon is a lot more powerful. It's either a Cruel Edict every turn, or you get a 5-mana or a 4-mana 5/5 flying, 6/6 flying, 7/7 flying, and it keeps getting more powerful, forcing your opponents to play threats to the board that they just sacrificed to the Desecration Demon. And again, this card is scary in multiples. Alright guys, so the next card I've pulled out is Obzedat Ghost Council. He's a 5-mana 5/5. When it enters the battlefield, your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life, and then he recurs every turn. So he exiles and then comes back during your turn to give it haste. One of the reasons I really like this card is it's really hard for your opponents to deal with. Given that it's not on the battlefield during your turn, they have to have that instant speed removal in order to deal with it. And if they don't, they're taking at least 4 damage off the 2 life triggers, and this card is just very powerful. It's only a 3 of course, because it's legendary. It gets kind of awkward when you have one stuck in your hand and the other one is currently blinking in and out. So that's the only reason it's not a 4 of. The mana is actually very intense on this card. Double black, double white, and 1 colorless. That's why I have to run all 12 dual lands available for these colors, just so I can ensure that this card sticks, because this is what wins you the game. Alright, so if you don't get your Obzedat Ghost Council, Blood Baron of Vizkopa is another very powerful option. That's a 5-mana 4/4 lifelink with protection from white and black, and as long as I have 30 more life and an opponent has 10 or less life, it becomes a 10/10 lifelink flying protection from white and black. Now this card is insane. It's really good against any mono white or mono black decks. There's no way that they can deal with this other than probably like a Devour Flesh. But this strategy is really powerful because it's one of those ways that they can't win. So if you're playing against the Mirror, or you're playing against a mono black Devotion deck, or a mono white Weenie deck, this card is impossible to deal with. The fact that it gains you life means even if they attack into it and you kill one of their creatures, you're also gaining 4 life. So it just has all the upside without much of the downside. The only reason that this is not a 4-of is because I'm also running the Obzedat in the 5 slot, so I can't run 7 5-drops. I gotta use that for curve issues. So that is Blood Baron of Vizkopa. Moving on to the non-creatures, we have Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is 1 black mana. Target player reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it, and that player discards it. Then you lose 2 life. This is really powerful. It kind of can act as a removal spell if you choose to take a creature, but also can save you. For example, if your only threat in your hand is your Obzedat Ghost Council, you can take their Hero's Downfall or whatever else they might have that can kill the Obzedat, so that you can ensure it sticks. The loss of 2 life isn't a big deal because this deck has a decent amount of life gain with Soldier of the Pantheon, Obzedat, and Blood Baron, and Whip of Erebos. So this strategy can be surprisingly powerful and just tear your opponents apart, stealing their gods' weapons, or other things such as Blood Baron that are hard to deal with for this deck. Going into the removal spells, this is Doomblade. Doomblade is a 2-mana instant that can destroy target non-black creature. This is a really efficient spell for only 2 black mana and at 2 mana and at instant speed. You can destroy anything that isn't black. So, for example, Loxodon Smiter, Tristani, Chandra's Phoenix, Boris Reckoner. There's a lot of really interesting options for this card, and being that it's so efficient, it's easily a 3-of in this deck, and easily main boardable enough, even though there's a decent amount of the metagame right now that is black. Next in the deck is Ratchet Bomb. Ratchet Bomb is a 2-mana artifact that you can tap it to put a charge counter on it, and you can tap it and sacrifice it to destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost equal to the amount of charge counters on the Ratchet Bomb. Now, what I really like about it in this deck is that our permanents have a huge range of converted mana costs. Soldier of the Pantheon at 1, Banisher Priest and Sin Collector at 2, Desecration Demon at 4, and Blood Baron at 5. The Obzedat won't be on the battlefield when you activate this, so you don't really need to worry. So this card can completely decimate a battlefield if your opponent's playing like a white weenie strategy with a bunch of 1s and 2 drops, or if they're playing a token strategy, you can just sacrifice this the turn it comes in to destroy everything with converted mana cost 0, which includes tokens. So this card is surprisingly powerful and can kind of just change a board state and do whatever you need it to. Next up, we got Hero's Downfall. Hero's Downfall is one of the most efficient removal spells in the format. For double black and a colorless, and at instant speed, you can destroy any creature or planeswalker. I cannot tell you how great this card is. I got my foil playset right here. I can destroy anything you really want it to. Jaces, Stormbreath Dragons, Loxodon Smiter, Chandra's Phoenix, Boris Reckoner. Anything you need it to destroy, it can destroy. It's murder with an upside. People have been calling it Murder Boar because of the combination that it seems to put between Murder and Dreadboar. So Murder Boar, or Hero's Downfall in this case, is a surprisingly powerful card that is really one of the most efficient removal spells we've seen in a while. Next up, we got Underworld Connections. Underworld Connections is a 3-mana enchantment that you enchant onto a land, and you can tap that land to pay life and draw a card. This is insane against control opponents or any opponent that's kind of dirtily, because you are digging through your deck at hyperspeed. You are digging 2 cards a turn, and it can help you find the things you need to gain life or stabilize, such as Obzedat or Blood Baron. It can help you find the pesky removal spell for their god, for example, in Banisher Priest, or just for any creature in Hero's Downfall, Doomblade, Ratchet Bomb. So Underworld Connections is really good at helping you dig. And in a similar case, we have Read the Bones, as only a 1-of here. Read the Bones is a 3-mana sorcery that lets you scry 2, lose 2, and draw 2. So this is kind of, if you really need it, the Read the Bones is really powerful. It's only a 1-of because sometimes the Underworld Connections is better because it can draw you as many cards as you need after each turn. But the Read the Bones can just draw you 2, one-time deal. And the 2 are pretty similar. There's been a lot of debate whether or not you play 2 Underworld Connections and 1 Read the Bones, 2 Read the Bones and an Underworld Connections, 2 and 2. So I went with 2 and 1 because I think that the Underworld Connections is better in most of the matchups, but against the aggro matchups where you really need the cards right now, the Read the Bones is better there. Our second to last card here, we have Whip of Erebos. It's a 4-mana legendary enchantment artifact that gives all your creatures lifelink, again with the Obzedat and the Blood Baron and the Soldier of the Pantheon with the life gain here. The losing life from the Read the Bones, the Underworld Connections, and the Thoughtseizes won't hurt as much because giving your creatures lifelink and giving them recursion is extremely powerful. One of my favorite things to do with the recursion ability is to recur like a Sin Collector, because you can get another card from their hand, or you can recur an Obzedat, which will recur itself permanently because Obzedat satisfies the Whip's trigger to be exiled. So that's kind of a neater action when you whip in an Obzedat and it stays there. But Whip of Erebos is really important in racing situations because giving your creatures lifelink. Lifelink is one of the best racing abilities of all time. And it can lead to some blowouts. So that's why I run Whip of Erebos. And the last non-land card is Elspeth, Sun's Champion, a 6-mana planeswalker that starts at foil loyalty. You can +1 to put a 1/1 soldier token onto the battlefield. You can -3 to destroy everything with power 4 or greater. And you can -7 to get an emblem that gives your creatures +2/+2 in flying. This is pretty powerful against any mid-range strategies. The destroying creatures with power 4 or greater is pretty much one of your only ways to get rid of opposing Blood Barons in this deck, other than Ratchet Bomb. So you have Elspeth, Sun's Champion here, just doing a bunch of work. It's a really efficient card because making 3 soldiers is very powerful for the 6 mana. Even if it gets Hero's Downfall, you know you got really good value out of the Elspeth. And the ultimate pretty much just wins you the game if you have enough soldiers on the battlefield. And then since a bunch of creatures have lifelink or have to do something gaining life, you have a decent chance of getting there if you slam down the Elspeth. Alright, so although everyone's sideboard is different because they have different needs for each event, this is my sideboard for my black-white deck. So down here I have 2 Fiendslayer Paladin. Those are really good against any aggressive deck. First Strike and Lifelink is really powerful as it can get through a bunch of cheap flyers, or not flyers, cheap aggressive creatures such as Fanatic of Mogus and Rakdos Cackler, Burning Emissary. So that's why I run those. The lifelink is really relevant to them, and it can't be lightning striked or doombladed. So that's why I run the Fiendslayer Paladins. On one of Yoke Docks, just to stop early aggression, I sat it in against mono red or white meanies, 1 mana 0/4, pretty simple. Lifebane Zombie, I sat it in against junk or green-white decks. Sometimes I'll do against green-red Devotion, but it's a 3 mana 3/1 with Intimidate, and when it enters the battlefield, I choose a green or white creature card from target opponent's hand and exile it. So the Lifebane Zombie is an efficient creature that can also not only trade with a creature on the ground, but also steal one from their hand. Next up we have Shrivel. Shrivel is also for the aggressive decks. It gives all creatures -1/-1. There's a mono white deck that's been tearing up Magic Online recently, and that used a bunch of X1s such as Dried Militant, Daring Skyjack, Soldier of the Pantheon. So this card kind of ruins them. The only thing that it kills in my strategy is the Soldier of the Pantheon and the Sin Collectors. So I'm not sure if I like it yet or not, but I'm just testing it out on the board for now. We have a 3rd Blood Baron. I side this against pretty much every black or white deck. I don't have the 3rd one in the main because we already have too much 5-drops, but if I find a mono black Devotion deck or a mono white deck, I'll probably side this in against them. Next up we got 2 Python Needles. Those mainly come in against control. It's really good to stop things like Planeswalkers or Whip of Erebos. And sometimes it can even come in handy, like saving you from a Mutavault attack by naming Mutavault, or putting it on the land that their Underworld Connections is connectioned to. The next card we have up here is Dark Betrayal. Now, I pretty much just do a swap with these when I come into sideboard against the mono black decks. Normally I'll just take out my 3 Doomblades and put in the 2 Dark Betrayals and the Blood Baron. Maybe some other things too, but that's mainly it. So that's basically just a swap when I go into sideboarding. We have a 3rd Ratchet Bomb in the sideboard. This is also used against the aggressive decks with things like Rakdos Cackler and Fire Drinker Satyr on 1, Burning Emissary, Ash Zealot, and the Battalion for Can't Block. A Fire Fist Striker on 2. So again, this just comes in against those aggressive decks because we have a pretty hard time trying to deal with them in the main board. And then the last card in our sideboard is 2 more Sin Collectors. Those come in against Control or any Dirtily deck pretty much, and those not only are a 3 mana 2/1, which is not great but acceptable, but it also takes a card from their hand. So that is my sideboard, and now let's move on to that special announcement. Alright guys, so the special announcement I was going to say after the end of this video, it's not really a special announcement, but it's something that's worth noting. So what I want to do is I want to try to foil this deck out eventually. So I'm looking for all of these wonderful cards in foils. So starting over here, 3 Soldiers of the Pantheon foils, 4 foil Desecration Demons, 3 foil Obzedats, 3 foil Blood Barons, 4 foil Thoughtseize, a foil Yoke Docs, 2 foil Pithing Needles, 2 foil Shrivels, 2 foil Lifebane Zombies, Fiendslayer Paladin, an Elspeth, a Underworld Connections, Read the Bones, Doomblade, Banisher Priest, 2 Ratchet Bombs, 3 Temple of Silence, 4 Godless Shrine, and then 8 Swamps and 5 Plains. With the basic lands, I would love to get them Zendikar foiled, so that's what I'm looking for. I already have like the regular foil basics, but I'd love to get the Zendikar ones foiled. And I think that is all I have for you guys today, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any of these foils, be sure to comment below and check out my trade binder so that we can get something going, because if I get this deck foiled, that would be sweet. Also, if you're new to this channel, be sure to subscribe, and you will be notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I also currently have a contest going on, so if you're interested in winning some free Magic cards, go check that out also on my channel, and that will end when I hit 75 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for watching again. My name is Max from Max Plays MTG, and I'll see you guys later.